take angles. You can see the wide angle of my bedroom, and I don't know how I feel about that. That laundry basket back thing is not just clutter. It's like all my kind of stuff and then some shoes on top. I know it looks real bad, but it's not as bad as it looks. Oh, happy Friday. We are going to dive in to this video I've had planned literally for weeks, and I just didn't have time to film it, and then it got pushed back to this Friday. And on top of that, this is going to be filmed literally in segments because as I'm filming this, I'm not currently done with this documentary. So also, if you see me looking over here, I have my tablet with all of my notes, just so I don't miss anything. And like I said, this will be edited in sections, so bear with me. If the lighting changes, if the scenery changes, it's cause I'm filming and editing these in sections to ensure that it's going up on Friday and to ensure that I finish the documentary. Getting into it, I watched the Jinx documentary, the Robert Durst story, so you didn't have to. I love a good documentary, and this one looked good enough. I'm going to explain. Sometime, probably within the last 2 weeks, I saw a TikTok about the show, this HBO series, The Jinx, following Robert Durst's life and killings. I had no clue who he was. I had no clue about this documentary, but the comments were flooded with how good the show was and the little twist that we'll get into. Knowing it was a documentary format, I took it upon myself for the consensus to watch it because a lot of people don't like documentaries and a lot of people don't have an HBO Max subscription. I'm one of them. Shout out to my bestie. She's letting me use an HBO to watch this documentary, okay? This documentary, as I said, follows Robert Durst, as he's being interviewed about his crimes with Andrew Jarecki, who made a film about Robert Durst's life, I guess. The film's all good things, and it's, like I said, about Robert Durst. I haven't seen the film, but that's essentially why Andrew Jarecki is interviewing Robert Durst, because Robert I'm getting ahead of myself. I do want to put some trigger warnings before I go any further, because this is filled with things that kind of like I'm talking suicide, murder, disappearance, description of the corpse. I'm pretty sure things like some threatening in there, etc. Domestic violence, that's another one that we touch on. Before I even start to talk about the show, it has one of the sickest intro songs I've ever heard. I'm going to play a little snippet of it right here, but before I even play it, the song is called Fresh Blood by Eels, and it's literally so good. You literally only get a second of this, so I don't get copyrighted. Okay. Snippet over. Episode 1 opens to a Texas sheriff telling us about the night he was called to a lake. A 15-year-old boy was out fishing and stumbled upon a torso. Not the head, not the arms, just the torso. This is where I'm like, this is where description of a corpse comes in, because you've been warned. The sheriff then explains how he had to reach inside the chest cavity of said torso to pull it out of the water. He literally reached down into the chest, hooked that sucker, pulled it out. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Cause, oh wow. Upon finding this torso and looking around the scene, guess what they find? A bunch of black bags with other body parts. But they're missing one. The head. this is the main identifying from anything. The head, the head and the hands, because the head, obviously, you could look at that. You could get dental records, whatever. And hands, because you could get, little fingerprints and test that from, like, identification. But, these remains would later be determined to be Magnus Black's remains, Robert's neighbor. Right? Mind you, they only found out Robert was renting this apartment because he threw away a glass prescription with his name on it. But I know what you're thinking. He's renting the apartment. Shouldn't they know it's him? No. He was... Okay, he's kind of crazy, right? When he went to go rent the apartment, he was playing a part, a little disguise, if you will, as a mute deaf woman. They thought a mute deaf woman lived in this house that Robert then killed Magnus Black in. No. It was Robert Dennis playing a little goofy game of, I'm a mute deaf woman. I don't... Also, if you're thinking, there's no way he went and picked up the glass prescription knowing that they found the body. Oh, he did. He did. The Texas Sheriff's Office went down to the place that the ice prescription was registered through and said, hey, if this guy comes in, call us. He's literally under arrest. So guess what? Robert Dennis goes to get his glass prescription. And guess what? Now he's under arrest because he is the prime suspect here. Because they found a bunch of stuff in his apartment pointing out to killing and dismembering Magnus Black. In this episode, we also find out that his wife went missing 20 years earlier, literally without a trace, and that's where the disappearance comes in, right? Episode 2, we get introduced to the movie that was made on Robert Dennis by Andrew Jarecki. Robert somehow gets a hold of Jarecki's phone number and is like, I want to do an interview, but I only want you to do the interview. Let's do an interview. Jarecki, crazy, was like, yeah, sure. Mind you, this guy has apparently killed someone. I say apparently. They had proof. He killed someone. And now he wants to do a little 6-parter documentary series. The traffic in my damn house is going in and out, so you're hearing like little tidbits of noises. I'm sorry. That's why I said this is being filmed in... If the quality changed, it's because my camera went tits up, so I had to switch. That's why the scenery looks a little different, and I'm gonna have to turn up the lighting because I want to look snatched, but my phone sometimes doesn't do that unless I'm in a good lighting. Getting back into it. Second episode in, I believe, that's how we hear Robert's mom committed suicide when he was 7, and how he literally, essentially saw his mom commit suicide. Traumatizing! He also mentions he was the oldest, and he was never in line to take over the family business. I know what you're thinking, family business? They have a business, I don't know what it is. They probably mentioned it, but I mentioned the family business here because his brother would later go on to run the family business, but Robert was threatened by this and whatever, and he would later go on to threaten his brother and his brother's wife. And scaring these two so much, they hired security. Yeah, probably because Robert killed somebody. This episode also provided a very deep dive into his relationship with his first wife, Kathy, and the speculation of Kathy's disappearance. Essentially, Bob and Kathy had a very loving relationship, they got married, the relationship kind of soured. I say soured, there was a lot of fighting and domestic violence, and then seemingly Kathy just disappeared. She just disappeared out of the blue, nowhere to be found. The night Kathy went missing, she went and had dinner at a friend's house, went home, got into a little tussle with Robert, went to the train station, and by 11, she was at the couple's New York apartment, stated by the dinner man. Those ones important. Robert also mentioned they talked on the phone, but Robert would later confirm that he lied about this. He did not talk to Kathy when she was at the New York home. It's getting suspicious. Kathy would end up calling the dean up from school and essentially saying that she's ill, and that would be the last time anyone heard from Kathy Durst. People in my house will not just let me live, laugh, love, so I switched to my mic so you could only hear me and not the weird little background noises, because how weird is that? I'm just gonna set it down. I'm right here. I hope you hear me. Good. Episode 3 continues to talk about Kathy's disappearance. Well, now focusing on a close friend of Robert's, Suzanne Berman. Suzanne, she's interesting, to say the least. Her father, he was a gangster, right? This line of crime would end up killing him and his wife when Suzanne was a very small child. She would then write books on this and make a large sum of money, but she would later end up dead, to say the least. Once again, all fingers point back to Robert. The police probably only found Suzanne because someone sent this weird little note to the local police office, and the note wasn't really weird. Like, it was very misspelled and like, ooh, look at me, Suzanne is dead. So, I mean, like, obviously, when you get something like that, you have to be like, back it up, boys, let's go. Episode 4 gets more so into his trial, and I don't think anyone was necessarily ready for this, because I wasn't. Like, okay, like, I wasn't into it. Okay, Alright. We get film from the courtroom. Well, Robert provides us some intake in his interview. He mentions he played a deaf mute woman because he didn't want to be identified, which, did he also get, like, fake identification? I would assume so, but, like, how weird to, like, go to get a fake ID and be like, I need to be a mute deaf woman. Like, mind you, he was wearing a wig. That's why they assumed it was a woman. And Robert says he did actually kill Maurice Black because he got into his apartment and Maurice Black was in there with a gun and shooting in a fight, and Robert accidentally shot him. I guess, okay, there's a few accounts that Robert and Maurice were best friends. Interesting. And not only that, Maurice Black at points in time would stomp down to Robert's porch and would yell at him for smoking on his porch, which is fucking weird. I don't know. Like, why would you throw that in there and then also back that up with, like, we were best pals? We were best pals, guys. And my best friend walked into my house and was like, why are you hitting an elbow? I'd be like, get out. Go away. Like, don't tell me what to do in my own house. But I digress, okay? He also, like I said, claimed they were best friends, which, based off of what Maurice did with the cigarette and then just being in his house with a gun, I'm gonna say they weren't really close. personally. He goes into great detail about how he sawed up the body, how he packaged it, and how he threw it into the lake. While watching him describe these things, he has little to no emotion, which, might add, has been seen throughout the whole documentary. The guy would be like, I killed someone. He was in my house. And you'd be like, okay. What did he say? Because he'd be, like, you know when you tell a lie and you, like, have little to no emotion because it's a lie and you're like, oh yeah, like, I took the dogs out. I pulled the chicken out of the freezing. Okay, well, like, I pulled the chicken out of the freezing for dinner. Because, like, when you lie, you don't want people to know that you're lying. So, like, him being like, weird, like, I killed somebody. I was a deaf mute woman. I had nothing to do with my wife's disappearance. Snap out of it, girl. Ngabang talked about how when he realized the bags were floating in the, like, marina, he found specifically the bag with Marina Black's head, sliced it open, and took it. Because the head, as we all know, will forever be the most important piece of identifying a victim. So, my thing is, like, why didn't he just take it in the bag? The verdict of accidental self-defense was brought up and was followed up with, if there was 2 people in the room and 1 was killed, how are they going to say it wasn't self-defense? With this being said, was incredibly interesting because, like, no one really considers that, because it's an Auburn Dennis. I just don't think it was a self-defense incident. I didn't really consider that it was a, what was it, accidental self-defense. Because that's, I didn't even know accidental self-defense existed, let alone could be considered in something where there was so much evidence that it wasn't self-defense. The jury reached a verdict, and they found Robert not guilty of killings. This caused a lot of mixed opinions and emotions because I don't think it was accidental self-defense. A lot of people don't think it was accidental self-defense. So, like, this, like, during this little, like, tidbit, this is where the interview takes a very weird turn. Okay? And Robert is talking to himself, like, in between, like, the interview, like, let's take a break, and then he's, like, talking to himself. He's like, and I can't remember for the life of me what he said, and I didn't write it down, but he's like, no one tells the truth, and some shit, and you're like, and then his lawyer comes up, and he's like, we just heard you say all of that, and he's like, I wasn't saying anything. I would like to mention him talking when he thinks no one. I would like to mention him talking when he thinks no one's listening is going to be a key piece. It's gonna be a key piece. But that is what I have. And I think, what am I on? I'm on, what is this, episode 4? Yeah, so I have 2 more episodes I have to watch today before we can finish this. See you later, alligators. This is what I meant by the scenery will forever be changing, because I had to make my camera batteries because I didn't want to do it back on my phone because the quality was atrocious. Alright, so I finally finished, and I'm going to get into episodes 5 and 6, and I will be including the clip of his confession because it's shocking. Right? In episode 5, we circle back around to the disappearance of Kathy, his wife, who went missing. Things like how the dead man had lied about Kathy being in the building, how Robert was initially terminated from the family business, and how Kathy's family really feels about the disappearance and how the case had been handled from this point on. A lot of her family, most notably her niece, mentioned that this incident didn't bring her family closer together because there was no closure, there was no body, no idea what had happened, and no evidence of foul play, and that made the grieving process a lot harder. That is a fly. Kathy's family was blindsided that Robert Dennis was even getting a documentary because they were not notified of this. On the other side, we get to see how Robert's family, focusing specifically on his brother Douglas, completely erased him. Naturally so, because he's a killer. Douglas was also somehow convinced his brother was going to kill him, and I think that is to note. Might I add, Robert is such a freaking character. This guy is so unique. When the film crew was out in New York, Robert found Douglas's house and made the film crew take a picture of him in front of Douglas's house just for shits and giggles, and that's shocking to me. When Robert found out Kathy's case was being reopened, he married his current girlfriend. I believe her name was Debbie. He married his current wife, Debbie, and essentially signed his rights over for marriage confidentiality. By the end of this episode, Jarecki and his crew discover that they actually have evidence to put him away, and that is how episode 5 ends. Episode 6 comes in with Robert essentially looking at a letter that was sent to the LA police department and how he is kind of nitpicking like the errors in this letter and how sending a letter would be a big risk. Literally going forward, Jarecki and his team compared handwriting from Bob to, well, they compared Bob's speaking in handwriting patterns to the letter that was sent to the police, and that's how they knew they had him. He kept on saying the word, specifically cadaver, because Kathy was in the medical field and she had a cadaver she would have gone. They initially planned to get Bob as soon as possible, but Bob's in Spain. It's a lie, he's actually in LA. Then Bob, from this point on, seemingly keeps on rescheduling, and that's how it goes for a while until Bob gets arrested. Bob essentially got arrested because he had went to Doug's house. Doug is his brother, and that broke the restraining order, so they weren't able to arrest him on that. It was here that they were able to get Bob, show Bob both letters, and this is when it gets good. Bob is looking at these, he's like, oh, like, I see my letter has Beverly misspelled, this one has Beverly misspelled, I don't really notice any similarity, but this is when they show him both letters, both of the envelopes, and he said, and Jarecki says, which one is the one you knit? Can you tell us which one you know? He's like, no, I can't tell the difference. That's how they freaking got him. Bob then goes to the bathroom. If you remember I mentioned earlier, Bob has this habit of speaking to himself, but he's being recorded off the mic on his shirt. Bob goes to the bathroom. You're going to see the audio clip after I explain this. Bob goes to the bathroom and he starts talking to himself and he says, side quote, "There it is, you're caught. Yeah, right, of course, but you can't imagine. Arrest him. I know what's in the house. Oh, I want this. What a disaster. He was right, I was wrong. And the burping? I'm having difficulties with the questions. What the hell did I do? I killed them all, of course." And that's essentially how it ends. I'm going to play the audio clip now, and then I'm going to give you a kind of final thought.
Yeah, that's...
You're right. This is the bear. There it is. You're caught. You're right, of course. But you can't imagine. What's in the house? Oh, I want this. Insist. Right. Irish. Listen. I'm having difficulty with the question. What the hell did I do? Kill them all. Of course.
I hope you enjoyed that clip. Like I said, final thoughts. I thought this documentary was awfully boring up until you really got into the 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 little nitpicky like details, because I don't know, it must just be the way Andrew Janecki directed this interview that like bored me immensely. Like learning of what he did was like interesting and all, but it was how the documentary was formatted that really got me. Do I regret watching this? No. Do I feel like it should have been summed up? Yeah. I couldn't hold my focus for 6 hours because each episode is about an hour long. You have 6. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed my little summary of the Jinx dinner Sunday directed by Andrew Janecki. I will see you not Monday, but the following Monday with a vlog. Oh no, I'll see you Wednesday. I forgot, I do little Wednesday videos. Little Hannah reacts. I'll see you on Wednesday with a little reaction video. Goodbye.